We have to take this very, very seriously because it is a cancer and it is spreading, and we're in the targets.
Indiana's senior senator says the ISIS threat is real, and he's joining calls to keep Syrian refugees out of the state. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brett Thomas.
And I'm Heather Herron. President Obama wants to bring at least 10,000 Syrian refugees to the United States.
But more than half the nation's governors are saying, not in our state. They say it's too dangerous to allow Syrians into the country right now, right after the terror attacks in Paris. The body of one suicide bomber in Paris was found with a Syrian passport. But the federal government controls resettlement programs. The House could vote as early as Thursday on legislation dealing with Syrian refugees, though it's not clear exactly what that would involve. And with all those governors announcing their bans, we wanted to know if they actually have that power.
News Channel 15's Sara Wagner talked to an Indiana Tech professor who specializes in immigration law. She joins us now with his explanation. Sara?
Despite more than 24 governors coming out against more Syrian refugees coming into their states, Professor Stephen Richardson says they have no authority to make such a call. While the immigration issue can easily get complicated, he tells us this really comes down to the Constitution. According to the Supreme Court's interpretation, immigration policy falls under the federal government's authority and can't be controlled by the states. Both the state and federal governments provide funding to refugee resettlement agencies across the country. Richardson says the only thing the governors can do is deny that funding.
So that's not to say they have no power, but what funding they give is relatively minimal in the grand scheme of things.
Since the state and federal governments work together with resettlement agencies, Governor Pence argues that gives him the right to ban the refugees.
I'm very confident that we have the legal authority to suspend the program, and I believe it's simply the right thing to do.
While the majority of governors calling for the bans are Republican, Richardson doesn't think this is necessarily a political move.
Much like right after 9/11, people are scared and they don't know how to react, and this is simply one knee-jerk reaction, I think.
Before the Paris attacks, President Obama had already agreed to letting in 10,000 Syrian refugees. Richardson explained how they have already been in camps for several years.
These are people who have already been vetted to demonstrate that they are, in fact, in fear of their lives.
But Governor Pence says it's not worth the risk during such an uncertain and unstable time.
I think it's incumbent on Congress to pause this program and to thoroughly reevaluate and resource them in a way that ensures that the safety of the people of Indiana and the people of the United States is secured.
Richardson thinks despite the governor's request, the refugee resettlement program will continue across the country. In Studio 15, Sara Wagner, News Channel 15.